Have you ever noticed that if you put the figures in chronological order, the accessories are also chronological order, but in reversed? That's insane. Hello people of the interwebs, this is Luke Moore back with another review. And today I'm going to be doing a review of Series 1 of Jakks Pacific Sonic the Hedgehog figures. So yeah, Jakks Pacific is now the main maker of Sonic figures coming off of Tomy. And Series 1 contains Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow. But instead of making normal action figures, they decide to make bendy figures, which is kind of good and bad at the same time, but we'll get into that later. So before we get into these, let's start off with the packaging. Okay, so I'm only going to do one because they all come in the same box. It's a basic blister card. You got a big ring here, and you got a little picture of Sonic here, and saying it's bendable and flexible, and it says the same thing in another language. Ages 3 and up. You got this spot for the accessories, which I'll talk about later. Sonic Hedgehog logo, the name of the character you're getting, Jakks Pacific logo. The back shows the figure, how the accessories work, and the other figures in this wave. So yeah, it's a very nice box. So yeah, enough of that. Now let's get into the figures. Okay, so here we got the figures themselves, and going in chronological order, we're going to start with Sonic. And the sculpt on these guys are really, really good. Jakks Pacific did a really good job with the sculpts. So you got his quills here, you got the green eyes and the nose, which, by the way, is very fragile, so be very careful with that. He's got big thumbs up, and his shoes have a nice glossy finish, and they do have treads. Now, since they are bendy figures, they are made of like a very rubbery material, so you can kind of pound them around, and they'll still sturdy. But however, I think the Sonic Adventure 2 battle figures are more sturdy than these because they're mainly for collectors, but these aren't bad. And speaking of which, they have the same articulation as them. They have articulation in the head. You move left and right, and they're supposed to have ball joints, but Sonic, it doesn't really work well because his head is just so close to his body, so it just mainly acts as a swivel. And the arms and legs on wires, so you can bend them however you like, except I'm not going to do it here because yes, since it's a bendy wire, there is a risk that it could snap and it'd be ruined forever, but also because if you bend them too much, I think you can see on the legs here, they get a little bit wiggly and it's hard to straighten out, so I'm just not going to do them here because I want them to be nice and straight. But yeah, Sonic looks really good. There's no paint to identify the mouth, but it's still noticeable. So yeah, Sonic is really good. Next up, we got Tails, who again looks really good. He's got his white fur here. You got the 3 little hairs here. He's got a waving hand, or an open hand, so he can wave. You got shoes here, and he does have detailing on the bottom. Now, one thing, if you notice, the way they sculpted the hands, they made them stick out this way. So I kind of had to move them around to make it kind of face this way. I don't know why Jakks Pacific sculpted them that way. The Joyride figures had them like this, so yeah, it's kind of a dumb thing. But other than that, the sculpt is really good. But the main problem with this figure is the tails, which are technically bendy, but it's so stiff you can't really move them without the risk of breaking it. And they do stick up, which is fine because when you're playing with him, you can kind of get little flying moves. But however, it makes it hard to stand. It's not impossible to stand. All you gotta do is just make sure his feet are perfectly straight and just move him forward a bit, and then he stands okay. But still, I wish there was a way they can put a peg here to rotate the tails, because I don't remember the last time we had a Tails figure that had rotating tails. Jazzwares with the 3.75-inch line, it took them like 3 tries until they finally gave Tails movable tails. But yeah, overall, Tails is really, really good. And unlike Sonic, his ball joint actually works better because it can move up and down and side to side. So yeah, it's a really, really nice Tails figure. Next up, we got Knuckles, and again, he looks really good. Knuckles usually gets the best end of the stick when it comes to the action figures, and Tails usually gets the worst, but again, he's good. So yeah, Knuckles really good. You got his dreadlocks here, you got his long tail, and his big fist, which both of his hands are fists, so you can actually put him in a neutral pose, so which makes it easier to preserve him. And he's got his shoes, and since his feet are so big, it has no problem standing up. And they have detail on the bottom. And here's the Legos. I never understood the Legos on his shoes. I don't think Sega ever answered that. But yeah, the only paint flaw that I have is that the little white ring here is not painted straight, so it's a little bit crooked. But other than that, he looks really good. And because it's made out of a very rubbery plastic, his head actually has movement. So yeah. Now the problem with that is that his neck is very, very long. And I would just put it down to hide it, but because the back of his head is a little bit top heavy, it's just gonna move back, so he's always gonna look up, so I have to kind of lean him forward to make him look straight. But yeah, Knuckles is my favorite in this line, but however, it has one defect that I have. I don't know if you can see that, but on his legs, where it's like the shiny part, it has little white wrinkles here, but that's because when I bend it, the paint chipped. So that's very, very unfortunate. And I've seen another one online where the wire stuck out of his arms. So yes, these things do have quality control issues. So just be very careful with that. But again, Knuckles is really good. And last up, we got Shadow. And again, he looks really good, although the way his mouth is molded, it sometimes looks like it's a smile, but sometimes it looks like a frown in other angles, so that's weird. And he actually has the best head articulation out of everyone. But that's kind of a problem because it makes the neck ridiculously long. Just don't understand that. But other than that, it is a really good figure. There are some paint flaws here, like the white of his eyes transfers on the muzzle, and paint splotches on his chest. But other than that, the paint job is really good. And you see, this is what I'm saying about the rotation of the fist. Because I had to rotate that, it makes this red stripe on its arm move with it. But yeah, the shoes look really good, and it actually has the jets on the bottom, which Toy Island never did. And his arm, he has this clenching fist like he's doing a chaos control, which is nice. So yeah, Shadow is probably my second favorite. And I think he's the most sturdy of all of them. Similar to the Joyride one. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the figures, and as you can see, they do scale pretty well. A lot of people say Tails should be a little bit smaller, but he is technically smaller, but I think it's because his head's bigger and the ears are longer, it just makes him look the same size as Sonic. So, yeah, that's basically it for them. Now let's get into the accessories. Okay, so for accessories, instead of having like rings and Chaos Emeralds, we get this disc things. They're just little round pieces with a sprite of the head from, I think this is from Sonic Battle, basically from the Game Boy Advance games. And the all-con characters, Sonic comes with Shadow, Tails comes with Knuckles, Amy comes with Tails, and then Sonic comes with Knuckles. So, yeah, and they do kind of have an action feature. You just take it, push down, and then it can do like a spin dash thing. And you can actually transform this into like a little minifigure. As you can see, on each side there are these little notches. And if you take the part where it's facing right, gets the body. And then the other side, you get a little extra piece. In this case being Sonic's quills, and they come with a stand, so you can make them stand like that. Then we got Tails here, got the body, then you got Tails, and the stand on mine is very, very loose. It barely holds onto them. So that really sucks. Again, quality control. Here you got Amy. And unlike the others, she doesn't have a headpiece, so that's neat, I guess. That. And finally Knuckles. The body. And his dreadlocks. Now, it looks good on this side because on this side the dreadlocks overlap, and I also have a little bit of sticker wear right here. But yeah, so overall these things aren't bad, but just they're not like worthy of an accessories. I think these guys really should have been like in a minifigure pack of their own, but who knows, maybe Chaos Emeralds and rings are expensive to produce, and it would keep it from that $10 price point that these figures go for. Who knows? It is what it is, but yeah. Well, they aren't bad, but I really wish they were in the separate packs and not accessories. So yeah, that's basically it. Now let's get into the final thoughts. So overall, these are good. I think a lot of people expected a bit too much with them, myself included. I would really like them to be like actual action figures, so that way they'll last longer and be more collector friendly. Because unlike the World Nintendo line, where it caters to both collectors and kids, these are solely for kids. But I think collectors can have some fun with them. The discs, like I said, they're not really worth an accessory, but they're still nice. And I think the figures can last a while if you're really careful with them. So overall, they're good, but they're not for everybody. So yeah, and a Series 2 is going to be coming. They're going to be coming with another Sonic with a Flying Tails disc. There's going to be a Super Sonic with a Running Sonic disc, a Metal Sonic with a Shadow disc, and Dr. Robotnik with a E102 Gamma disc. So looking forward to those. I'm definitely going to be getting Metal Sonic and Dr. Robotnik. Super Sonic, still debating, but I'm probably going to get it nevertheless. So yeah, that's basically going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Instagram, it's in my channel description, and I'll see you in the next video whenever I make it. So, bye bye folks.